West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy with Chef Justice Putnam. Netrootsradio.com.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. À fleurs sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte.
Let's just do a quick compare and contrast, shall we? So yesterday, over the course of a 1 hour period, Donald Trump made 25 separate posts on his social media, and they were posts like this, and like this, and like this, and like this. And I want to share those with you, but then I want to compare it with what Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Governor Walz, were doing. Governor Walz gave an incredible speech at a local high school in Pennsylvania. Vice President Kamala Harris answered the questions from the press in a very detailed manner. Donald Trump was accepting fake endorsements from AI images of fake Taylor Swift fans and posting it over and over again. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris, Governor Walz, President Biden posted AI images of a celebrity, just pick a random celebrity, of Beyonce, right? And said, Beyonce has endorsed me and Beyonce's fans have endorsed me. And it was AI images. Do you think for a moment that that would not be on the front page of every major media network calling for that specific candidate who posted it to step down, and rightfully so? But for corporate media, it's just Trump being Trump. He's posting AI images of fake Taylor Swift fans and accepting it. That's just Trump being his weirdo, deranged, demented self. Nuclear codes for that guy. I mean, look what Donald Trump posted. He goes, I accept Swifties turning to Trump after ISIS foiled Taylor Swift concert. Taylor wants you to vote for Donald Trump. Swifties for Trump. These are AI images. Actual AI images. Remember last week where Donald Trump was lying? What else is new? And saying Vice President Kamala Harris was filling up these huge auditoriums which were packed with AI crowds? And then Donald Trump said, that's disqualifying. She needs to be removed. She's committing crimes by doing AI. No, she wasn't. Those were real people. But Donald Trump posting AI Taylor Swift images and AI Taylor Swifties for Trump. I mean, this is despicable, desperate stuff. Even for Donald Trump, this may be a new low of desperate. Also, Donald Trump making racist posts like this as part of the post. He goes, if you're a woman, you can either vote for Trump or wait until one of these monsters goes after your daughter, and it is just a photo of migrants who are not white. Okay, so Donald Trump, again, blatantly racist, but Donald Trump, who's been found liable of sexual assault, who's on audio bragging about sexually assaulting women, which Donald Trump said that was locker room talk. Donald Trump, who's on video bragging about inspecting girls at his beauty pageants without their consent because when you run the pageant, they let you do it. Donald Trump is saying that right there. Convicted felon, just overall despicable human being. That's what he's posting. Then he makes posts like this. Comrade Kamala's father was a Marxist economics professor. Is this really what we want for our country? It would be the end of America. And it's just post after post, trying to cause fear and panic and anxiety to try to create the preconditions for an authoritarian to enact Project 2025 and try to rule over like a totalitarian leader. That's what he's trying to do. So that's what Trump was doing. Oh, and don't even get me started on Donald Trump's event that he held in Pennsylvania, where he was speaking for about an hour and a half about how he believes he's better looking than Vice President Kamala Harris, and she looks like Elizabeth Taylor on the cover of Time magazine, and that makes him really, really upset. Push that aside and compare that to what Governor Walz and Vice President Kamala Harris was doing. Here is Governor Walz right here, former high school football coach who brought his team to win a state championship. Here he is talking to a football team right here, a group of young people, about why they shouldn't be so cynical about politics and the opportunity that exists right now to turn politics into something about joy and optimism and happiness and improving our country, not fear and division like Donald Trump and MAGA wants to sow. Play this clip.
I know it'd be easy, especially now. Our politics has been pretty ugly. Our politics has seemed pretty negative. Our politics is something that I know, what I fear most is that young people turn away from it rather than turning into it. Politics isn't that much different than this. It's about something bigger than themselves. It's about setting a future goal and trying to reach it. It's about doing it with dignity and hard work. It's about doing it with humility. And when you lose, you walk across the field and you shake hands with the other team and know they played hard too. But we're all in it together to try and make it better. And things like investing in this public school and I can't imagine what this place looks like when it's filled with folks and the lights are on and the leaves are turning and that game's in the fourth quarter and somebody has to make that play. Somebody has to step up and you look to each side of you and you know, I trust them. I trust them to make that play. Our country's not that different. Our neighbors want to be with you. Our neighbors want to do what's right. And the more we figure out that we're in this thing together and we have more in common than we have separated, we're going to do a heck of a lot better. So I have to tell you, thanks for taking some time. Thanks for giving us the privilege to stand on this field because you earn the right to be on this field. You earn it with a lot of sweat. You earn it with a lot of time in the weight room. You earn it with the folks who came before you and know that they care how you conduct yourselves on this. And we feel the same way. We have a responsibility to the American public to conduct ourselves with dignity, conduct ourselves with a vision, and to conduct ourselves on all of this. When football's done right, it is just fun as heck to play the game. And that's the way things can be. So I have to tell you, I am just honored to be with this leader. I'm honored with someone who's showing us that. I'm honored with someone who's out doing politics with a smile on her face and with a sense that everybody matters. And we're here in this space to say it's not just a cliche. Our future is with you, and we have a responsibility to deliver it to you in good shape, to make sure that we're doing the right things to give you a good shot at the future. And so for me, it's a privilege to be on this team. It's a privilege to see this leader do it with such joy.
Powerful words and very normal. And like stuff like that drives MAGA crazy. Just very, very normal. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris answered questions from the press as part of a bus tour that she was doing with Governor Walz across Pennsylvania. They started in Rochester. So, you know when MAGA's like, oh, she's not speaking to the press. Well, she is. She's not speaking to the press about Hannibal Lecter. She's not speaking to the press about getting electrocuted or eaten by sharks or what's worse. She's not speaking to the press about Donald Trump's looks and how she believes she's prettier than Donald Trump. She's not talking about weird. She's talking about what her policies can do for the American people. Here's Vice President Kamala Harris answering. I could show you 10 clips like this, but here's one very detailed answer. I don't know about you. I want a politician who talks about policies and details and data. Play the clip.
You unveiled some economic policies last week.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you're going to pay for those? And can you give us a sense of what other policies you want to unveil going forward?
Sure. Well, I mean, you just look at it in terms of what we are talking about, for example, around children and the child tax credit and extending the EITC. It's at $6,000 for the first year of a child's life. The return on that investment in terms of what that will do and what it will pay for will be tremendous. We've seen it when we did it the first year of our administration. We reduced child poverty by over 50%. So that's a lot of the work. And then what we're doing in terms of the tax credits, we know that there's a great return on that investment. When we increase home ownership in America, what that means in terms of increasing the tax base, not to mention property tax base, what that does to fund schools, again, return on investment. I think it's a mistake for any person who talks about public policy to not critically evaluate how you measure the return on investment. When you are strengthening neighborhoods, strengthening communities, and in particular the economy of those communities, and investing in a broad-based economy, everybody benefits, and it pays for itself in that way.
And then, of course, all the press wanted to talk about is the fact that Vice President Kamala Harris is leading in all of the polls right now, which is driving Donald Trump absolutely crazy. So Donald Trump has now reverted to posting Twitter polls. That's what Donald Trump is posting. He used to post the betting site that he likes. He used to post New York Times Siena poll. Now he's posting Twitter polls where 273 votes of Twitter bots and such were taken. So Vice President Kamala Harris is asked, like, hey, you're up, for example, in this poll and that poll. The new ABC general election poll has you up by 5 against Donald Trump. You have the New York Times Siena has you winning in Arizona, North Carolina, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. What is your response, Vice President Kamala Harris? So just watch how she answers. She just goes, look, I still view us as the underdog. Here, play this clip.
Madam Vice President, CBS News has a new poll, shows that you're 3 points up nationally. What's your response to this? Do you still consider yourself the underdog here?
I very much consider us the underdog. We have a lot of work to do to earn the vote of the American people. That's why we're on this bus tour today, and we're going to be traveling this country as we've been, and talking with folks, listening to folks, and hopefully earning their votes over the next 79 days.
Charlie? So you take that and compare that to this. Donald Trump's post. We had to turn away lots of people yesterday in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, but Comrade Kamala Harris's social media operation showed empty seats long before the rally started early in the afternoon, when in actuality we had to turn away 11,500 people. She's a crooked radical left politician and always will be. Everything she touches turns bad, just like California and San Francisco before it. As is the case with all Marxists, she should have never been vice president and had to stage a coup to Joe Biden with her America-hating friends Barack Hussein Obama, crazy Nancy Pelosi, crying Chuck Schumer, and the rest. Comrade Kamala is a stone-cold loser. She will fail, and if she doesn't, our country will cease to exist as we know it, turning into a communist, crime-ridden garbage dump. November 5th will be the most important date in the history of the U.S. It's as simple as that! Exclamation point. Got nothing to fear, folks, but fear itself. Donald Trump is all about division. It's all about culture war. He's all about turning we, the people, against each other. That's what Donald Trump wants. He steals our symbols, the flag. Steals our symbols and words like patriot. He steals and stomps on our Constitution, perverts it. That's who Donald Trump is. That's who Donald Trump is. He's this guy. Play the clip.
Okay. She called it wrong. She's called it wrong now for about 8 years. But she said one thing that got me. She said Kamala has one big advantage. She's a very beautiful woman. She's a beautiful woman. So I decided to go back and reread the clause. I'm not saying he's, but I say that I am much better looking than her. I think I'm much better. Much better. I'm a better looking person than Kamala. No, I couldn't believe it. She said, I had never heard that one. They said, no, her biggest advantage is that she's a beautiful woman. I'm going, I never thought of that. I'm better looking than she is. In her speech yesterday.
So you want that guy or you want this? Play the clip.
All here, we love our country. And we know our country is going to be as strong as our willingness to fight for it and to fight for what we stand for. You know, when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. When you stand for working people, you fight for working people. When you stand for freedom, whether it be to make decisions about your own body or love who you love, you fight for those things. When you believe in ending child poverty, you fight for that. When you believe in what we need to do to lift up the middle class, you fight for the middle class. These are the things we stand for, and these, therefore, are the things we fight for.
It is Monday, the 19th of August of 2024, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam. Gunner, the English bulldog, is our snoozing sous chef. Precious, our little Yorkie, is our door girl, but she's sleeping in at the moment, so we will be seating you directly for our especially special, daily special, River City Hash Mondays, because, well, on Mondays we put a hash up together because of, well, what's left over from the weekends, and we carry this culinary meme. Well, we just carry it. We carry it on. Just keep carrying it on. All right? All right. How are you? It's Monday. We made it through the weekend. Hey, the DNC starts. Wow, I'm actually going to watch it. Might even have MSNBC on for a little bit before I turn it to C-SPAN. I'll remind folks that MSNBC is now my weather channel because I turn it on for a little bit and see whether I'm going to keep it on or not. And mostly I've been turning it off. I got to say. Not Lawrence. I like Lawrence. Sometimes I miss the live, well, at least the West Coast initial feed, so I pick it up later. Yes, I do. I try. Anyway, so much more going on. Donald Trump is just going off his rocker. Jeez. But I guess that's normal. And Kamala and the coach are commies. And that's apparently not normal. Okay. Anyway, do not shade my joy, man. Stop shading my joy. We have also some, some bad news. Sad news. Phil Donahue passed away at the age of 88. And I just got that blurb. I didn't get into the article to see if he indeed passed this morning or they're just announcing his passing. But he is gone to the Rainbow Bridge. Do we go to the Rainbow Bridge? Is that only for our pets? Well, Phil Donahue was kind of like a pet. Yeah. But I was sad to see that. I thought that he was treated terribly, just like Dan Rather was treated. I will put Dan Rather on a much higher pedestal in terms of journalism. But Phil Donahue was treated terribly. He was run out just for, opposing a war. Essentially, what he said is that for us to react to the planes flying into the Twin Towers, and then for us to attack Afghanistan, and then Iraq, instead of the Saudis, was the equivalent of the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor and we decide to bomb Mexico in retaliation. And essentially that got Phil Donahue run out of media. How dare you? Phil Donahue. Some of us don't even know. Well, we do. I'm saying the rhetorical us. I know we all remember it very well because we were there. But some people were not. They have no idea who Phil Donahue is. Yep. I actually mentioned this on the Tim Corrimal show. If you haven't checked out this week's Tim Corrimal show, do. it will be reprised this afternoon. 4 o'clock on the West Coast. That would be 7 on the East. But anyway, I brought up that I had posted a response, or just, a general observation about Barron becoming part of his dad's, crew. What do you call that mob enterprise? The family. I guess he's starting to do some family business. And he's got a long time, fairly well known in, Reddit and TikTok circles, fairly right-wing goose-stepping MAGA Nazi influencer as his helper in this endeavor. And I think that's to counter the lightning quick media chops that social media chops that the Harris campaign has. So he thinks that, my kid's 18, he can he's young, he just knows this stuff. Maybe. But so people are saying, like, leave Barrett alone, he's just a kid. He's 18 years old. Please. So I just made mention that as trucks are driving by with their loud engines, how dare they? Anyway, I just had made mention on social media about, on Twitter, that right-wingers are all upset because Barron is being treated, 18-year-old Barron is being treated pretty much the same way that right-wingers treated 12-year-old Amy Carter. And she was treated so terribly. They called her like homely. Worse, they called her a dog. You think, the Clinton daughter got it. Oh, yeah, she did. Chelsea. I think she was called a dog too by Rush. But Amy, she was just a little kid, 12. Actually, she wasn't even 12. She was 10. They came into office when she was 9, and she turned 10 shortly after he came into office. And they started just in on Amy Carter, and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. So I just made mention of that, and I'd considered bringing up what had happened to the Lincoln kids by Southern State rebel types. The same type of people that are MAGAs today. Hate America, everything's going to hell in a handbasket. How dare these people want to vote? I mean, they're supposed to be doing work for free. Well, I give them a roof over their head and some slop to eat. So I thought about that, but I thought, really the demarcation in terms of our media and that influence and going after the kids, and I'm not talking about, the Truman daughter going after her because she thought she was like a great opera singer or ingenue or something. She was well in her 20s when she was doing that stuff. I'm talking about a 10-year-old to 12. And they hammered her. Well, I got dragged fairly long. Now, not any. I would say that a small fraction of the criticism was a small fraction of the totality of the responses that I got for that. And for me, it went viral. Not millions, but, several thousands. Maybe more. I should go check again. Anyway, because pretty much people had no idea who Amy Carter was. And how could I have forgotten, the most recent examples of going after the kids, like, the Obama kids. And, I suppose you could even go after the Biden kids, but once again, they're adults. Though it was a little bit different with them because Biden daughter. Gosh, all of a sudden I'm having a brain lock. I apologize. I'll get her name here in a second. But regardless, I mean, her diary was stolen by O'Keefe, and O'Keefe is like now asking or putting out a casting call for people to come down and infiltrate the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, and get people on camera or tape so that they can manipulate it like they always do. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I did not forget the Obama girls. I did not forget Chelsea. And then I realized, and of course, at some point, I was reminded very succinctly by people like, I'm an old guy. You're so old. And then other people sincerely, and I should say a bit naively, said, well, we were just little kids then, so the first things that we became aware of was, like what happened to Chelsea. And, what happened to the Clinton girl and the Obama girls. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I also have to qualify it that being the progeny, the son of a professional historian. We were kind of taught that the world didn't start when we were born. It kind of was going on for quite a while before we ever were a thought in anybody's gleam of an eye. Is that a possible metaphor? I doubt it. So I sometimes forget that people actually do, by and large, have this idea that what happened before me has no bearing whatsoever on what's happening now. The world only became important when I was there. Yeah. So how does one politely respond that, you need to expand your horizons and maybe your institutional memory too, please? I mean, can you at least go to the Magna Carta? I'm not asking you to go before, which you should. Because how did the Magna Carta come about? Because of things that happened before it. But, we can at least go to the Magna Carta, at least. So that was the idea of bringing up Amy Carter. She was 12. Well, 10. I said she was 12. Because that's when they left. And I don't know. I guess I have to continue reminding myself that I am indeed an old guy. And apparently I don't matter. Old people do not matter. That's right. Take care of the kids, get out of the way. They don't want you around, but they want you to take care of their kids. God. J.D. Vance is the kind of son-in-law that, well, I don't know. If you're living near Lake Tahoe, you might Fredo the guy. Hey, you want to go fishing? No, that would be wrong. I know it would be wrong, but, it's like a novel. It's like a crime novel. Or is it a wish? I don't have any ability to have a son-in-law. I have a couple of daughter-in-laws, though, and that's different because they're good ladies. Good mothers. And while we're being, our time occupied and our attention occupied by a mobster, like that's normal. And then normal people are considered to be odd. That guy's doing things out of the goodness of his heart. What's wrong with him? I mean, this is where we've gotten to. No one is allowed to do anything out of the goodness of their heart. It always has to be transactional. And if it's not something that where you can get something out of it, what's wrong with you? Are you a commie? Unconditional love. What are you, a commie? As if there could be unconditional love. Anyway, I hate this idea that being a good neighbor is something to debate against, to fight against. I hate that. politically correct. You can't force me to be a good neighbor. Yeah. Woke. Well, we know what woke is. It's not just like the anti-good neighbor policy. It's also, I guess I got a few things coming in on my phone. Why is it making so much noise? Anyway, I digress. Like I always do in the morning, let us leave this small little rant, and give you a rundown about what we have in store for you. And yes, indeed, I better, because time is a-ticking. And as we begin here, well, we already talked about Trump losing his mind there at the top. I like the Midas guys. They kind of put it together. They do. Well, an audit of the Oregon Department of Early Learning and Care found the agency could benefit from stronger oversight and equity training. I put that in because I'm hoping that some Oregon MAGAs here will be triggered by that, because if there's one thing they can't stand, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because they're against all of that. They are. They say it. They even have it in their manifestos. Continuing on, a controversial bill to abolish the California fire hazard rankings died in the Assembly. That's part of the legislature, you know. The Senate and the Assembly is how it is in California. And a salmonella outbreak tied to cucumbers from Florida is larger than initially indicated, sickening 449 people across 31 states and the District of Columbia. After the break, we move to the chef's table, where more than 400 homes were evacuated in Northern Ireland to remove a World War II era bomb. Been there for a while. And a volcano erupted after a powerful 7.0 earthquake in Russia's Far East, with scientists warning of a stronger, more potent earthquake on the way. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. It being Monday, we are going to tuck right into this first offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, River City Hash Mondays. And it is by Kaylee Tournay from Investigate West. An audit of the Oregon Department of Early Learning and Care found the agency could benefit from stronger oversight and equity training to improve governance of the state's early learning system. Auditors' findings, issued in a letter from the Secretary of State's Audits Division to Agency Director Elisa Chatterjee on July 24th, align with critiques of the department voiced by current and former staff in an Investigate West investigation published in March. Employees sounded alarms, including one who contacted Governor Kotek about what they saw as the agency's failures to foster equity, retain leaders, and manage programs that serve Oregon's lower-income families. Let's be clear. The issue is that our black population, by and large, is not being taken care of and have always been used as a scapegoat by who I call the usual suspects. Well, auditors spoke to at least 3 of those employees to learn more. Their final recommendations urge agency leaders to regularly review disciplinary decisions made by child care licensing investigators to ensure they are being made fairly, expand required equity and bias trainings, and improve coordination between regional and statewide authorities and among the various preschool and child care programs that the department manages. Agency leaders said they welcome the feedback and are already working to implement some of the recommendations. The audit examined how smoothly the Early Learning Division transitioned out of the State Education Department into an independent agency. The Department of Early Learning and Care launched on July 1st of 2023, and auditors monitored its performance through its first year. Rather than complete a full audit, which takes longer and typically looks at established government practices and protocols, the Audits Division conducted its analysis in real time, so the findings would be available to the agency in a time frame that would allow leaders to act on them, said Laura Kern, spokesperson for the Secretary of State's office. The letter noted the department's success in taking over management of programs and responsibilities previously handled by other departments, including the employment-related daycare subsidy that helps families afford child care. It is a more than $400 million program that is in high demand. Since November of 2023, thousands of families have been waitlisted. Reducing that wait list is a high priority for staff. Haley Smith, staff writer at the Los Angeles Times, brings us this next offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. A bill that sought to overhaul California's system for wildfire hazard mapping has died in the state assembly. Senate Bill 610, introduced in June by Senator Scott Wiener, a Democrat from San Francisco, sparked heated debate over its plan to eliminate the decades-old system of ranking state and local lands as moderate, high, or very high fire hazard severity zones, designations that influence development patterns and building safety standards based on an area's probability of burning. The plan instead would have empowered California State Fire Marshal Daniel Berlant to create a single wildfire mitigation area or mitigation area classification for California, which supporters said would simplify the system and create a uniform set of standards for wildfire preparation and mitigation. Well, that sounds good. The bill was held in the Assembly Appropriations Committee on Thursday. We're relieved this dangerous proposal will not be moving forward this year, said J.P. Rose, a policy director and senior attorney for the Center for Biological Diversity, who opposed the bill. Rose and other critics had described SB 610 as true insanity that would make it easier to develop more housing in fire-prone areas. They said it would also wrest decision-making power over such decisions away from local governments. Rose said he viewed the decision as a victory for more than 150 organizations that weighed in against the bill in a series of open letters to Governor Newsom and state legislators. We look forward to collaborating with the legislature in steering new housing away from high-risk areas while supporting equitable and climate-resilient development in existing communities, he said. From the Washington Post brings us this final offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. River City Hash Mondays. A salmonella outbreak tied to cucumbers from Florida was larger than initially indicated, sickening 449 people across 31 states and D.C., public health officials revealed this week. The CDC issued an update on the outbreak it had first identified in the spring, saying what had originally been thought to be two separate infections were linked. At least 125 people had been hospitalized as of July 2nd, though the CDC said the true number of sick people is probably much higher than the initial number reported. Well, let us now go to our break, and when we get back from that break, we will go through weather from around the world, and we will finish up with the stories that we have curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and we will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. This week, Border Crossing. I know I wouldn't want the challenge of turning Borderlands, the super popular video game, into a, you hope, hit Hollywood movie. Holy smokes. First, there's just adapting the beast. You want the movie to feel like the game, right? But you can't directly translate an immersive, interactive, open-world, characters defined by their skill sets first-person shooter, whose selling points are its atmosphere and its game mechanics as a creative kill fest, into a passively watched, linearly plotted movie with characters that are narratively interesting at the least. Gearbox released the game in 2009. In 2012, they started talking about the movie, and after that, it was 5 or 6 years before they got a script treatment that they liked. That's all before they could even start writing it. Then you need a director, and here's Eli Roth, whose most recent movie was Thanksgiving, and he says that horror has that kind of anarchic punk rock quality that translates. Plus, his horror has a bit of comedy, like The Game. He's thinking John Carpenter's Escape from New York and the visual vibrancy of The Fifth Element, so people are like, okay, he could work. But now you need stars. You want the movie to be big, like franchise creation big, so you need ridiculous level stars who can pull in the people who don't care about the game. Fortunately, Roth worked with Cate Blanchett in The House with a Clock in Its Walls, and it turns out Blanchett likes doing different things. Not every movie for her has to be Tar. Also turns out one of her favorite films? Escape from New York. Time for a rewatch. Kevin Hart wants to break out of comedy typecasting and prove he can do action. Ariana Greenblatt is on a roll. She's looking to feed her momentum. Florian Munteanu is probably just happy for the work. Gina Gershon gets to play a Southern Mae West. Who says no to that? Jack Black was also in House with a Clock. And Jamie Lee Curtis, well, she's Jamie Lee Curtis. She ain't got nothing to prove. So there's your cast. And here's Borderlands. And it helps me to know all the things people needed it to be so I can say, yeah, I see why it kind of is what it is. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. Catch up with us at take2moviereview.com and feed us back on our channel on YouTube.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for summer break
because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a single father of 2 who works 3
part-time jobs and still can't put enough food on the table?
Or maybe a mother who cleans offices at night,
hoping to find meeting leftovers to take home to her hungry family.
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time landing
a job and getting back on his feet.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Tom Hartman, and since you're listening to netrootsradio.com, show your progressive side and go to the donate button on the bottom of the homepage. It's progressives like you who power Netroots Radio and keep the progressive message beaming everywhere 24 hours a day. Just go to our donate button at the bottom of netrootsradio.com. Thank you for keeping progressive radio at full power.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. In the midst of our series on protections against bad actors not certifying the presidential election, came the news of the felony conviction of a former Colorado election official who allowed election deniers access to her county's voting machines. A jury convicted former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters on 4 felony charges for giving unauthorized access to the county's Dominion voting system's electronic ballot tabulators to 2 election conspiracy theory activists associated with MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. Colorado Newsline reports testimony that Peters misused another county employee's identity to fraudulently give access to an official inspection of ballot counting machines by a Dominion Voting Systems employee and a representative of the Colorado Secretary of State's office. Election data was later allegedly copied and distributed online. The Colorado County Clerks Association said after the verdict, Colorado clerks across the state are pleased to see justice done today. We take seriously our role as guardians of the best election process in the nation and are grateful to see the justice system hold those who would harm our elections accountable. Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold said in a statement, "Today's verdict sends a clear message. We will not tolerate any effort to threaten the security of our gold standard elections." We've linked to the local reporting at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Veal.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1909. That was the day that a committee of the industrial workers of the world in Spokane, Washington, published the first edition of the Little Red Songbook. The collection were songs to fan the flames of discontent. Perhaps more than any other labor organization in the United States, members of the IWW understood the power of art to tell the workers' stories. IWW members created music, visual art, and writing to draw people to the cause of labor and to build solidarity among workers. Richard Brazier was an IWW musician who served on the Spokane committee that compiled the collection. He explained, "What first attracted me to the IWW was its songs and the gusto with which its members sang them. Such singing, I thought, was good propaganda, since it had originally attracted me, and many others as well, and also useful, since it held the crowd for wobbly speakers who followed. The original Little Red Songbook included songs such as Solidarity Forever and the French song The Internationale. 30 editions of the pocket-sized book were published between 1909 and 1995. They have included labor songs from musicians such as Joe Hill, Ralph Chaplin, and T-Bone Slim. John Reed, a former IWW journalist, reflected on the organization's powerful connection to music. He wrote, "Remember, this is the only American working class movement which sings. Tremble then at the IWW, for a singing movement is not to be beaten." Do you have a favorite labor song?
Solidarity forever.
Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show.
Solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. When the union's inspiration.
Thank you for accompanying us here to the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, River City Ash Mondays. We always begin weather from around the world along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently 55 degrees Fahrenheit, expecting highs in the low 80s. And I should note that we had a considerable thunderstorm with a lot of rain, a little bit of hail, but mostly rain. And I have not heard if the thunderstorms caused any wildfires, but I should also note that we had a lot of rain that could have put anything that started quickly out. So I hope that's the case, because we did get more than a smattering. We got a deluge of water out of the sky, and I liked it. We also have rain forecast for the end of the week, and we'll keep note of that. Partly cloudy throughout the day, though a little bit of sun is peeking through at the moment. Winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then partly cloudy skies overnight. Lows in the mid-50s. Winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Intervals of clouds and sunshine tomorrow with highs only in the mid-80s again. It must be the oncoming fall approaching. That's oncoming, and it's approaching. Winds will be out of the northwest tomorrow at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Grass pollen is rated low here on Rogue River. The air quality index for the region is at 17 parts per million. And that daytime UV index is high at level 7, so still take care. Barometric pressure is holding steady at 30.08 inches. Visibility is up to 10 miles, and relative humidity is at 84%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world, and that is the Weather Underground. London is 68 degrees and cloudy. Paris is 75 and sunny. Rome is 83 and mostly cloudy with a heavy thunderstorm advisory. Kabul is 75 and partly cloudy. Hong Kong is 85 and clear. Tokyo is 76 and cloudy. Auckland, New Zealand is 52 with light rain. San Francisco, California is 58 and partly cloudy. Chicago, Illinois is 70 degrees and mostly cloudy with a small craft advisory. And, I heard that there's a convention going on too. And New York is 80 degrees Fahrenheit and partly cloudy. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. Press World Desk brings us this first amuse-bouche here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, River City Hash Mondays. Police in Northern Ireland ordered the evacuation of more than 400 homes to remove what is suspected to be a World War II era bomb. The removal operation could take more than 5 days, police said yesterday, Sunday. The device was discovered Friday in Newtownards, an area of County Down about 9 miles east of Belfast. Police had set up barricades and asked drivers to avoid the area. An emergency support center was set up for residents who had to move out of their homes. I appreciate the disruption that this has caused. However, keeping people safe is paramount, and we will not take any risks, North Down and Ards District Commander Superintendent Johnston McDowell said. And I want to thank those who may be affected for their patience at this time. Even more hard-working staff at the World Desk of the Associated Press brings us this final amuse-bouche here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. One of Russia's most active volcanoes has erupted, spewing plumes of ash 3 miles into the sky over the far eastern Kamchatka Peninsula and briefly triggering a code red warning for aircraft. The Sheveluch volcano began sputtering shortly after a powerful 7.0 magnitude earthquake struck off Kamchatka's east coast early yesterday, Sunday, according to volcanologists from the Russian Academy of Sciences. They warn that another even more potent earthquake may be on the way. The Academy's Institute of Volcanology and Seismology released a video showing the ash cloud over Sheveluch. It stretched over 304 miles east and southeast of the volcano. The Epico volcano, located on the Kuril Islands, also spewed ash 1.5 miles high, the Institute said. It did not explicitly say whether the earthquake touched off the eruptions. I should add that the actual earthquakes are more the magma moving up the tube for the eruption rather than the earthquake causing the eruption. The earthquake is because of moving magma. We all know that. Now, a code red ash cloud warning briefly put all aircraft in the area on alert. A separate report yesterday, Sunday, carried by the official TASS news agency, said that no commercial flights had been disrupted and there was no damage to aviation infrastructure. If it came from TASS, you can rest assured there were some jets that got impacted by the ash from these volcanoes. The tremors in the area may be a prelude to an even stronger earthquake in southeastern Kamchatka, Russian scientists warned. The Institute of Volcanology said a potential second quake could come within 24 hours, which means only a few more hours, with a magnitude approaching 9.0. That is about as big as the Alaska quake that had that 100-foot tidal wave. That also brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day. But you do know Netroots Radio broadcasts on, and we will meet up here tomorrow for Tarrytown Chowder Tuesdays. So do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day and all night for all the breaking news as it breaks, and we will meet up here tomorrow, right here in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Appétit.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma fleur sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, qu'il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte Goël. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je veux déjeuner par terre, comme au long de golfe clair, t'embrasser les yeux ouverts dans mon jardin d'hiver. De novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver.